So we're not looking for anything. We are not seekers. We are not speculating either. We're not constructing philosophical theories, philosophical frameworks. We're practicing right liberation. We're practicing enlightenment. We found it. It's here. Free of all notions, free of all ideas, prejudices, beliefs. It's here. And the practice means keep coming back to the center, here. Keep coming back to it. Keep coming back to liberation, to enlightenment. Now you might wonder why this should be a problem. Consciousness, being, the absolute, enlightenment is supposed to be blissful, wonderful. We keep hearing how wonderful it is. And if it's so wonderful, then why do we get hooked into our usual low-level patterns, our usual negative patterns? Somebody asked me in a comment to one of these videos, if being is so blissful, then why am I not happy? It's quite a good question. And it's something I wondered myself. But the thing is, it is extremely subtle. Sometimes it's described as infinitesimal. It's subtle and it's so easy to miss, even if you've stumbled upon it in the past. It's sometimes not clear whether you're in that state of realization or whether you're in a memory of that state of realization. And sometimes the initial realization is accompanied by quite a gross form of bliss, and that's not the bliss that is part of consciousness. That's the bliss of the ego. And sometimes when realization happens, it's completely overshadowed by the bliss of the ego. The real nature of realization is one of equanimity, of calmness, of contentment, not some kind of big, toothy guru grin of bliss. So it's often described as blissful. It's often described in the most wonderful terms because it needs to be bigged up. Because of its subtlety, It doesn't need to be bigged up in practice, because it's true, that's what it is. But the mind, the distracting mind, is constantly working against it. The distracting mind is what thrusts itself between the light of awareness and realization of that light. So the Yoga Vasishta is constantly helping us here, helping us to come back to this realization, reminding us of what we're constantly avoiding. Vasishta continued, "The knower of truth experiences the world just as the man born blind sees the world in his dreams and sees nothing in deep sleep. His heart and mind are cool with the extinction of the fire of desire. Since the mind of the knower of truth is freed from attraction, it is in a state of perfect equilibrium, even when he is not practicing meditation." This is in quote marks. "Even as the waters of a pool remain undisturbed when there are no outlets." This can give quite a stagnant impression, can't it? A pool with no outlets and free of desire doesn't sound so appealing. But if you're caught up in the fire of desire, if you're caught up in anguish and sorrow, then maybe it's quite appealing. But we must take these analogies and similes within the parameters that they're meant. What it means is, we're not getting taken in. We're not getting taken in by other people's stories anymore. We know who we are. We don't have to apologise for it. We don't have to make excuses for it. We don't have to believe the scientific stories that we're simply a bunch of atoms or a bunch of chemical processes. It's not even a scientific picture, it's a particularly traditional and limited scientific picture, but it's one that a lot of people like to adhere to in the name of being realistic, that we're simply a bunch of atoms. Well, there's nothing simple about an atom. There's nothing simple about the chemical processes which atoms are about. But that's not what we are. These are just stories. We don't experience that. These are the stories which we allow to subvert our sense of being. Let's be free of all these stories and come back to who we know we really are. So this is what the knower of truth experiences. We're not getting caught up in stories. We are appreciating our value. We are appreciating fully the value of our own being. It's a mighty thing. And yet we replace it with these third-rate stories about that we're just a mechanism, or that we're some sinner that needs to repent, or we could always be better. We're always trying to improve ourselves. We're never quite good the way we are. How to make yourself a better husband, a better wife, a better lover, a better parent. How to win friends and influence people. And on it goes. All these things, although they might have their uses and they might have their place, but there's always a hidden agenda which is actually subverting us from appreciating who we really are, or what we really are. So this is the pool which remains undisturbed. We're not allowing our sense of being to be siphoned off into limited notions. Our sense of being is infinite and eternal. Don't swap it for second-hand goods. So this is what the Yoga Vasishta is reminding us about. This is enlightenment practice.